The morning sun spilled across the polished marble floor of the hotel ballroom like a spotlight announcing the beginning of a story that no one expected. At the far end of the room, beneath shimmering chandeliers and tall glass windows that welcomed the soft daylight, a man stood quietly as if he didn't belong. His clothes were neatly pressed but worn at the edges, his shoes carrying the dust of a life that demanded more than it gave, and his eyes heavy with unspoken battles. His name was Ryan Halim, a single father who had learned to bend without breaking. Across the room, in a world of high ceilings, graceful wealth, and perfect smiles, stood Isla Marcellus, the youngest female CEO in the city, powerful enough to buy her way into any future she chose, yet burdened by a loneliness no money could erase. Their worlds were galaxies apart, yet destiny had a strange way of closing distance. When Isla's gaze lifted and locked with Ryan's, she stepped toward him in a slow, deliberate rhythm. She stopped in front of him, her voice steady, eyes intent, and told him, "Dance with me before you regret it." That single sentence became the spark that would upend everything they thought they knew about strength, loss, and second chances. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us how powerful compassion can be, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Chronicles. Your support helps this community grow. Ryan had never imagined finding himself in a ballroom filled with executives, investors, and people who spoke in numbers and profits. He was there because of his daughter, little Isha, a bright 6-year-old who had survived more storms than most adults. She had battled a severe respiratory condition since infancy, and the hospital she received treatment from was funded by Isla's corporation. Ryan worked as a courier, delivering parcels across the city under the scorching daylight, the monsoon rains, and the biting winds, carrying not just packages but the weight of a promise to his daughter that he would never give up on her future. When he received an unexpected invitation to a charity luncheon organized by Isla's company, he assumed it was an error. But when the hospital confirmed his presence was intentional, an acknowledgement of his resilience and a quiet symbol of the people they served, he accepted, though he knew he would stand out like a bruise on silk. Isla, for all her success, was far from the untouchable figure newspapers painted her to be. She had inherited the company at 28 after the sudden passing of her father. The pressure had been relentless, the board members ruthless, the expectations crushing. She had lived her life in daylight offices, surrounded by glass walls that gave a view of the whole city yet trapped her inside a cage built by responsibility. She gave generously, funded hospitals, charities, and community programs not out of public image but because she believed in quiet kindness. Yet she had never allowed anyone close enough to see the tired tremble in her hands when she signed another contract, or the way she paused at the window each morning hoping anything, would change her life's rhythm. When she saw Ryan across the ballroom, standing so still amid the soft daytime glow filtering through the windows, something shifted within her. He looked out of place yet grounded, nervous yet strong in a way that did not need applause. She had seen hundreds of faces in elegant events, but none carried the kind of courage she saw in his posture. After the formal lunch, after speeches and polite clapping, music filled the air, gentle, warm, and inviting. Guests moved toward the makeshift dance floor, couples gliding effortlessly. That was when Isla made her way to Ryan, ignoring the whispers, the curious glances, the unspoken judgment that someone of her status would approach a man like him. But Isla had stopped caring about the world's expectations long before this day. She stood before him, eyes unwavering, and told him the words that startled him more than anything he had faced, "Dance with me before you regret it." She didn't say it arrogantly. She said it like a plea, like she wanted him to step into a moment that mattered. Ryan hesitated. He had not danced since his late wife, Mira, had danced barefoot in the kitchen with him on warm afternoons before illness took her away. The memory clung to him like a scent he could never chase off. He feared stepping into something new, feared staining someone else's world with the heaviness he carried. But Isla extended her hand, steady as sunlight, and something in him softened. He took her hand, careful, unsure, and followed her onto the floor. As the music swelled, he moved awkwardly at first, his shoulders stiff, his steps uneven. But Isla guided him, her movements patient and natural. They swayed beneath the shimmering daylight pouring through the tall glass windows, two strangers learning the rhythm of vulnerability. The dance lasted only a few minutes, but in those minutes, something unspoken formed between them. Isla felt a warmth she hadn't felt in years, a gentle, grounding presence that wasn't asking anything of her. Ryan felt seen in a way he hadn't since Mira was alive. The world around them blurred, and for the first time in a long time, they existed outside their struggles. After the event, Isla sought him out again, not as a CEO but as a woman who wanted to know the story behind the sorrow in his eyes. Ryan shared little, only saying he was doing his best to raise his daughter alone. Isla didn't push, but she asked if he would meet her at the children's ward the next afternoon. She had a project in mind and wanted his insight as someone who understood the challenges families faced. Ryan reluctantly agreed, unsure why someone like her valued his perspective. The next day, surrounded by the warmth of the daylight streaming across hospital corridors, Isla watched Ryan interact with Isha and the other children. His gentleness astonished her, the way he lifted spirits with humor, how he crouched beside wheelchairs so he wasn't towering over the children, how he listened patiently to each one. She realized he possessed a strength completely different from hers. His came from endurance, from holding broken pieces together even when they cut his palms. Over the following weeks, Isla and Ryan naturally drifted into each other's lives. She invited him to participate in a new foundation project focused on helping single parents. He hesitated at every step, unsure whether he belonged, unsure whether the feelings building inside him were allowed. Isla found herself looking for him at every meeting, every event, every place she expected to see only formality. He brought an authenticity she had long forgotten existed in business halls. Still, both carried fears. Ryan worried he would never fit into her world, the suits, the pressure, the whispers that followed her. Isla feared that her growing emotions would burden him, that he would think she was trying to rescue him instead of simply wanting him near her. For every step they took forward, uncertainty pulled them back. But each time their paths crossed under the warmth of daylight, whether in a hospital corridor, a community center, or a boardroom filled with blueprints, they found themselves reaching for each other's presence without realizing it. When Isha finished coloring, she asked them to dance. There was no ballroom, no chandeliers, just grass beneath their feet, daylight on their faces, and the soft breeze carrying the distant sounds of the city. Isla held out her hand again, just like the first day. This time, Ryan didn't hesitate. He took her hand and danced with her in the open field, their movements slow, unhurried, and full of meaning. It wasn't elegance or grandeur that made the moment beautiful, it was the simplicity of two people finding each other after life had worn them thin. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Chronicles. Your support brings these emotional stories to more people who need a reminder that kindness still exists. Before you scroll, please take a moment to comment a heart or a few words to support this story and this journey. As the sun warmed their faces and Isha laughed behind them, Ryan realized he didn't regret saying yes to her that day. And Isla realized that sometimes the most powerful decisions are made not in boardrooms, but in quiet moments where two lives intertwine. And in that gentle daytime dance, they both understood something rare and beautiful: some chances weren't meant to be feared, they were meant to be lived.